Someone Like You, a love story in 6 parts, inspired by the song of the same name by Adele.
Chapter 1. Whispered Secrets in the Summer Haze. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, the picturesque coastal town of St. Austell was drenched in a warm, golden hue. The lingering heat of the day mingled with the cool breeze rolling in from the nearby sea, creating a mesmerizing summer haze that blanketed the quaint cobblestone streets and the charming houses that lined them. In the heart of the town, nestled between centuries-old stone buildings, was a small cafe named Rosemary's. Adorned with flowering vines and luscious climbing roses, its outdoor tables offered a haven for locals and tourists alike. The scent of blooming flowers mingled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, creating a comforting, familiar atmosphere. Seated at one of the tables was Emily Ravenscroft, a woman of undeniable beauty, her hazel eyes reflecting an intriguing blend of strength and vulnerability. Her heart pounded in her chest, the rhythm in sync with the seconds ticking away on the antique clock mounted on the cafe's stone wall. She was waiting, her eyes scanning the faces of the passing crowd for one that was all too familiar. Emily's mind wandered back to the days of her youth, to the passionate, albeit tumultuous, love affair she had shared with Charles Ashton. It was in this same town that they had spent their formative years, their lives entwined in a story that was as captivating as it was heartbreaking. A sudden burst of laughter from a nearby table made Emily's heart skip a beat. It was a sound that was all too familiar, a sound that had once filled her with immense joy and contentment. But now it served as a stark reminder of her loss, of the dreams she'd left behind. With a trembling hand, she reached for her cup of tea, her gaze still locked on the crowd. Charles was supposed to be here. Word around town was that he frequented this cafe, that he had settled down and found happiness. Emily's heart ached at the thought. Charles, her Charles, was now someone else's. The wind suddenly picked up, rustling the leaves of the rose bushes that framed the cafe's outdoor area. The scent of roses, now intertwined with the salty sea air, was a cruel reminder of their first encounter. It was during St. Austell's annual Rose Festival when Charles, a dashing young man with twinkling blue eyes, had handed her a rose, a symbol of the blossoming love between them. Emily closed her eyes, lost in her memories. She remembered the stolen kisses, the shared secrets, and the dreams of a future together. Charles was not just her lover, but her best friend, her confidant. She yearned for those days, for the comfort of his embrace, for the sound of his laughter. Her train of thought was interrupted by the sound of the cafe door creaking open. Emily's breath hitched as she watched a tall figure make his way towards the counter. It was him. Charles Ashton, now a matured version of the boy she once knew, was here. He was just as she remembered him, yet different in a way that only time could explain. His hair was a little shorter, his shoulders a little broader, but his smile, oh his smile, it was just as captivating as it had always been. As their eyes met across the cafe, Emily saw a flicker of recognition in his gaze, a silent acknowledgement of their shared past. She took a deep breath, bracing herself for the encounter that was about to unfold. The whispered secrets of their past were about to resurface, threatening to disrupt the calm facade of their present lives. And Emily knew the journey to finding closure was going to be as enthralling as it was heartbreaking, but it was a journey she was willing to embark on, for she hoped someday she would find her someone like you. Emily watched as Charles collected his coffee from the counter and turned to survey the room. As his gaze landed on her, a moment of recognition flashed in his eyes. The room seemed to grow quieter, the surrounding chatter fading into a dull hum. "Emily?" Charles's voice broke the silence, his tone uncertain yet laced with a familiar warmth that tugged at her heartstrings. His strides were long but hesitant as he crossed the room to stand before her. "Charles," Emily greeted, her voice steady despite the tumult of emotions churning within her. She gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Would you like to join me?" With a curt nod, Charles took a seat, setting his coffee on the table. There was a brief silence as they both took in the reality of their unexpected reunion. The years had changed them, and yet sitting across from each other, they were again the young lovers they had once been, their shared past hanging heavy in the air between them. Emily took a moment to study Charles. His eyes still held the same depth of blue she remembered, but there was a maturity to him now. His features, once boyish, were now defined and sharp, hinting at the man he had become. The conversation began haltingly, with an exchange of pleasantries and small talk. They spoke about their lives, the years that had passed and the changes that had come with them. Charles spoke about his wife and the life they had built together, while Emily shared stories of her travels and the freedom she had found in her independence. Yet, beneath the surface of their casual conversation, there was an undercurrent of unspoken words and unresolved feelings. The ghost of their past relationship lingered, casting a shadow over their exchange. As the day turned into evening and the cafe began to empty, Emily and Charles found themselves engrossed in their conversation. The summer haze that had settled over St. Austell began to lift, giving way to a clear, starlit night. Underneath the stars, their whispered secrets began to unravel, the memories of their past coming back to life. The summer haze might have faded, but their story was just beginning to unfold. Emily knew then, as she gazed into Charles's eyes, that she was stepping into a journey that would change her life forever. The first chapter of their story had come to a close, but the pages of their past were far from finished. As the final patrons began to leave the cafe, Emily and Charles continued their conversation, the glow from the cafe lights casting long shadows around them. The weight of their past hung in the air, a testament to their shared history. But it was a weight Emily was willing to bear for the chance to find her someone like you. Chapter 2. The Uninvited Memories. The subsequent days in St. Austell came and went like a dream, with Emily and Charles caught up in their unexpected reunion. They fell into a routine, meeting each day at Rosemary's, their conversations meandering between the past and the present. Emily found herself being drawn into the vortex of their shared history, the memories they had made together resurfacing, uninvited yet irresistibly compelling. Every shared glance, every word exchanged, felt like a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, slowly coming together to form a picture that was as beautiful as it was painful. One afternoon, as they sat in their customary corner of the cafe, Charles's gaze fell on a photograph displayed on the wall. It was an old picture of the town's annual Rose Festival, a sea of faces lost in a riot of colours. Among them, two young faces stood out, a young Emily and Charles, caught in a candid moment of laughter. "That was our last summer together, wasn't it?" Charles asked, his voice low, a hint of nostalgia colouring his words. His eyes were still fixed on the picture, lost in the reminiscence of a simpler time. Emily followed his gaze, her heart twinging at the sight of their younger selves, their faces radiating innocence and love. "Yes," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. It was. The photograph had captured them perfectly. Charles, his arm draped casually around her shoulders, was caught mid-laughter, his eyes alight with mirth. Emily, leaning into him, was looking at Charles with an expression of pure adoration. It was a snapshot of their past, frozen in time, a cruel reminder of the love they had once shared. "Do you ever think about it, Emily?" Charles asked, tearing his gaze away from the photograph to look at her. "About us?" Emily was taken aback by the question, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked into Charles's eyes, seeing the same question reflected back at her. "Sometimes," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "But it's been a long time, Charles." Charles nodded, a look of understanding passing between them. "It has," he agreed. "But some memories, they never really leave you, do they?" The unspoken words hung in the air between them, the weight of their past pressing down on them. Emily felt a lump forming in her throat, her mind filled with images of their shared history, their first kiss under the starlit sky, their whispered promises of forever, the crushing pain of their separation. All came rushing back like a floodgate had been opened. She looked away, her gaze falling on the cobblestone streets outside. The summer haze had returned, wrapping the town in a dreamy glow. For a moment, Emily was transported back in time, back to a summer filled with love and heartache, back to a time when Charles was hers and she was his. As Emily wrestled with her resurfacing feelings, she realized that Charles was right. Some memories never left you. They lingered, hidden in the recesses of your mind, only to resurface when you least expected them. And with their resurfacing came a tide of emotions, uninvited and overwhelming. Emily looked back at Charles, his blue eyes watching her with an intensity that made her heart flutter. She knew then that their journey into the past was far from over. The uninvited memories had only just begun to stir, threatening to disrupt the fragile peace they had found in their present. "I think it's time we talked about it, Charles," Emily said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within her. "About us, about everything that happened." Charles seemed taken aback for a moment before a slow, understanding smile spread across his face. He reached across the table, his hand coming to rest over hers. The contact was electric, a spark that bridged years of separation. "I think you're right, Emily," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "It's time." And so they dived headfirst into the past, navigating through the labyrinth of their shared history. They revisited their first meeting at the Rose Festival, their stolen kisses, their shared dreams, and ultimately their heartbreaking separation. They laughed at their youthful follies and grimaced at the painful memories, each revelation peeling back layers of unresolved emotions and unspoken words. For Emily, each memory was a painful reminder of the love they had lost. Yet, with every shared moment and every whispered confession, she felt a sense of liberation, as if she was finally freeing herself from the shackles of their past. As the afternoon gave way to the evening, Emily and Charles found themselves immersed in their shared history. The cafe, once buzzing with customers, had quieted down, the only sounds being the low hum of the espresso machine and their hushed voices. The evening air was thick with unspoken words and shared memories. It was as if they had stepped into a time capsule, the outside world fading into insignificance as they delved deeper into their past. By the time they decided to call it a night, they had journeyed through years of their shared history. It was a journey that was both painful and cathartic, a journey that had brought them closer than they had been in years. As they walked out of Rosemary's, the cool evening breeze sweeping over them, Emily felt a strange sense of peace. The uninvited memories, once painful, now felt like a balm. She looked at Charles, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the streetlights. His eyes met hers, a silent promise lingering in their depths. In the heart of St. Austell, under the starlit sky, Emily and Charles had journeyed through their past, their uninvited memories serving as a bridge between their past and their present. The second chapter of their story had come to a close, leaving them on the precipice of uncharted territory. Yet they were ready to delve deeper, to uncover the truth, and hopefully find their someone like you. Chapter 3: The Shadows of the Past. The quaint coastal town of St. Austell had always been a beacon of tranquillity, a sanctuary where time seemed to stand still. But for Emily and Charles it was quickly turning into a crucible of memories, every familiar corner revealing a ghost from their past. Their daily rendezvous at Rosemary's Cafe had become a pilgrimage into the labyrinth of their shared history. The days turned into weeks, their conversations oscillating between joyous reminiscences and painful revelations. It was during one of these encounters that Emily brought up the topic that had been hovering on the outskirts of their conversations, casting a shadow on their newfound camaraderie. "We never really talked about why we parted ways, Charles," Emily said, her voice steady, eyes locked onto his. It was a question that had haunted her for years, the missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle of their past. Charles's gaze faltered, his fingers absent-mindedly tracing the rim of his coffee cup. There was a moment of silence, the only sound being the soft murmur of conversations from the other tables. Then he sighed, the sound carrying a weight of regret and unspoken words. "It was my fault," Charles admitted, his voice a mere whisper. "I was young, foolish. I thought I wanted more, that there was something bigger waiting for me out there. I didn't realize I was leaving behind the best thing that ever happened to me." Emily listened, her heart aching at the raw honesty in his voice. She had spent years wondering what had gone wrong, blaming herself for their separation. But hearing Charles take responsibility, acknowledging his mistake, brought a sense of closure she hadn't realized she needed. The conversation that followed was a tough one, filled with confessions and apologies. It was a dive into the murky waters of their past, an attempt to understand what had led to their separation. They discussed their insecurities, their ambitions, their youthful folly, all the factors that had driven a wedge between them. As the shadows of the past began to recede, Emily and Charles found themselves looking at their shared history with newfound understanding. The pain of their separation was still there, a scar on their hearts, but with each passing day, it was becoming easier to bear. It was as if they were healing together, their shared conversations serving as a balm for their wounded hearts. As the weeks rolled by, Emily found herself looking forward to their meetings. Despite the painful memories, there was a sense of comfort in their shared history, a sense of belonging that she hadn't felt in years. Charles, too, seemed to find solace in their conversations, his eyes reflecting a warmth and understanding that only came from shared experiences. The town of St. Austell, once a reminder of their past, was slowly turning into a place of healing, a place where they could face their past and hope for a better future. The shadows of the past might still linger, casting their long shadows over their present, but Emily and Charles were ready to face them together. Their journey wasn't easy, filled with moments of joy and heartache, laughter and tears, but with each passing day, they were peeling back the layers of their past, their shared history serving as a bridge towards their future. They were healing, one memory at a time, hoping to find closure and perhaps find their someone like you. As the summer haze began to lift, giving way to the crisp autumn air, Emily and Charles found themselves at a crossroads. They had delved deep into their past, unravelled the threads of their shared history, and confronted their long-buried emotions. But where did they go from here? What did this newfound understanding mean for them? One afternoon, sitting in their usual corner of Rosemary's Cafe, Emily decided to voice the question that had been lingering in her mind. "What now, Charles?" she asked, her eyes meeting his. "Where do we go from here?" Charles looked at her, a hint of surprise in his eyes. He took a moment, his gaze thoughtful, before responding. "I don't know, Emily," he admitted, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "But I know one thing for sure. I don't want to lose you again." His confession hung in the air between them, a testament to their shared feelings. Emily felt a rush of warmth, her heart echoing his sentiments. She had come to St. Austell seeking closure, a way to finally put her past behind her. But she had found much more. She had found a friend, a confidant, and perhaps a chance at a second love. "I don't want to lose you either, Charles," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm scared of the past repeating itself." Charles reached across the table, his hand coming to rest over hers. "I understand, Emily," he said, his voice reassuring, "and I can't promise that it won't be hard, but I'm willing to try if you are." And there it was, the promise of a new beginning, a chance to rewrite their story. It was scary, the uncertainty of the future looming over them, but the prospect of finding there someone like you was too enticing to resist. As they stepped out of the cafe, the autumn leaves crunching under their feet, Emily felt a sense of anticipation. The shadows of the past were receding, giving way to a promising future. They had traversed through the labyrinth of their shared history, confronted their fears, and come out stronger. The third chapter of their story had come to a close, leaving them on the precipice of a new beginning. The past was behind them, the future uncertain. But they were ready to face whatever came their way, hand in hand. As Emily looked at Charles, his eyes reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun, she knew they had a long journey ahead, but she was willing to embark on it for the chance to find her someone like you. Chapter 4. A Dance with Desire. As the autumn leaves began to paint the town of St. Austell in hues of red and gold, Emily and Charles found themselves embarking on a new journey. Their past had been laid bare, their fears confronted, and now they stood at the dawn of a promising future. The promise of a second chance was both daunting and exhilarating, a dance with desire they couldn't resist. Their meetings at Rosemary's Cafe continued, but there was a shift in their dynamics. The conversations that were once heavy with the weight of their past now danced around the possibilities of the future. They spoke of dreams and aspirations, hopes and fears, their words interweaving into a tapestry of shared understanding and mutual respect. One evening, as they sat in their usual corner of the cafe, Charles broke the comfortable silence that had settled between them. "Would you like to go to the Rose Festival with me, Emily?" he asked, his voice tinged with nervous anticipation. Emily looked at him, her heart fluttering at the proposal. The Rose Festival had always held a special place in their hearts, a reminder of their shared past, but this time it held the promise of a new beginning. "I'd love to, Charles," Emily replied, her voice barely above a whisper. His face broke into a smile, his eyes reflecting the joy that was mirrored in her own heart. The day of the Rose Festival arrived, cloaking the town of St. Austell in an air of excitement. The streets were abuzz with laughter and chatter, the aroma of fresh roses wafting through the air. Emily and Charles found themselves amidst the sea of faces, their hands entwined, a symbol of their newfound camaraderie. As they walked through the festival, their shared memories coming alive around them, Emily felt a sense of contentment. The fear of the past repeating itself was still there, a silent spectre lurking in the corners of her mind. But standing there with Charles, amidst the riot of colours and the symphony of laughter, she felt a sense of hope. The evening unfolded like a dream, a dance of desire and anticipation. They laughed, they shared stories, they lost themselves in the magic of the festival. And when Charles pulled Emily into a slow dance, the world seemed to stand still. Their bodies swayed to the rhythm of the music, their hearts beating in sync, a testament to their shared desire. Under the starlit sky, amidst the blooming roses, Emily and Charles found themselves lost in each other. Their shared history, once a source of heartache, was now a foundation for their future. They had journeyed through the labyrinth of their past, braved the shadows, and emerged into the light of a promising future. The dance with desire was a tantalizing one, filled with moments of joy and anticipation. It was a dance they were willing to continue, their hearts beating in sync to the rhythm of their shared hope. As the night came to an end, Emily and Charles found themselves standing at the edge of the festival grounds, the echoes of laughter and music fading into the distance. They stood in silence, their hands entwined, their hearts full of hope and desire. The fourth chapter of their story had come to a close, leaving them on the precipice of a future filled with endless possibilities. The past was behind them, the future uncertain. But they were ready to continue their dance with desire, for the chance to find their someone like you. Chapter 5. The Tides of Change. Winter wrapped St. Austell in a blanket of frost, the once vibrant landscape now transformed into a monochrome tableau. Yet, amidst the icy chill, Emily and Charles found warmth in their budding relationship. The promise of the Rose Festival had sparked a shift in their dynamics, their bond evolving from shared past to shared hope. Despite the cold, their meetings at Rosemary's Cafe continued, each encounter bringing them closer. Their conversations were no longer just about their past, but about their present, their future, their dreams. The cafe had become their sanctuary, a haven where they could shed their fears and embrace their desires. One chilly afternoon, as they sat huddled in their usual corner of the cafe, Charles broke the comfortable silence that had settled between them. "I've been offered a job in London, Emily," he confessed, his voice laced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Emily looked at him, surprise etched on her face. "That's great, Charles," she said, her voice steady despite the flurry of emotions coursing through her. "But what about us?" Charles reached across the table, his fingers gently brushing against hers. "I want you to come with me, Emily," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want us to start a new life together." The proposal hung in the air, the magnitude of his words sinking in. Emily looked at Charles, his eyes reflecting the same hope and apprehension that she felt. London was a world away from the quaint town of St. Austell, a world filled with unknowns. Yet the prospect of embarking on this new journey with Charles was enticing. I need some time to think, Charles," Emily said, her voice a mere whisper. Charles nodded, his hand squeezing hers in understanding. They left the cafe in silence, the bustle of St. Austell a stark contrast to the storm brewing in their hearts. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions for Emily. The thought of leaving St. Austell, her home, was daunting, yet the prospect of a new life with Charles, a chance at love, was too enticing to resist. She found herself torn between the comfort of the familiar and the thrill of the unknown. After days of contemplation, Emily found her answer. She knew she was taking a leap of faith, stepping into the unknown, but she was willing to take that risk, for the promise of a new beginning, for the chance at love. "I'll come with you, Charles," Emily confessed one chilly evening, her voice filled with determination. Charles looked at her, his eyes lighting up with joy. "Are you sure, Emily?" he asked, his voice laced with anticipation. Emily nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "I've never been more sure about anything, Charles," she said, her voice strong and steady. Their future was uncertain, filled with unknowns, but they were ready to face it together. As winter gave way to spring, Emily and Charles found themselves embarking on a new journey. They were leaving behind the familiar lanes of St. Austell, stepping into the bustling city of London. It was a leap of faith, a dance with the unknown, but they were willing to take the risk for the promise of a new beginning, for the hope of a shared future. Chapter 6. The Promise of Spring. Spring arrived in London with a burst of colour, the city shedding its winter gloom to embrace the promise of new beginnings. It was a promise mirrored in the hearts of Emily and Charles as they navigated their new life in the bustling metropolis. Their new home was a quaint flat in the heart of the city, a stark contrast to the coastal tranquillity of St Austell. The incessant hum of the city was a constant reminder of their new reality, a dance with the unknown that was both thrilling and terrifying. Their days were a whirlwind of adjustments and discoveries, every moment a step towards their shared future. Charles's new job was demanding, yet he found solace in the challenges it presented. Emily, on the other hand, found herself drawn to the city's vibrant art scene, her passion for painting reigniting with newfound vigour. Their evenings were a testament to their shared strength and determination, a sanctuary amidst the city's chaos. They would share stories of their day, their laughter and shared dreams echoing through the walls of their flat. It was during these moments that Emily and Charles truly felt at home, their love blossoming amidst the city's hustle and bustle. One evening, as they sat in their cosy living room, their shared silence a testament to their comfort, Charles looked at Emily, his eyes reflecting the glow of the city lights. "Do you miss St Austell, Emily?" he asked, his voice a mere whisper. Emily looked at him, her mind drifting back to the quaint coastal town that had been her home. "I do," she confessed, her voice filled with nostalgia, "but I wouldn't trade this life with you for anything." Charles reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. "I feel the same, Emily," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "We're building something beautiful here, something that's ours." As spring turned into summer, Emily and Charles found their rhythm in the city. Their love story was unfolding against the backdrop of the bustling metropolis, each day a testament to their shared resilience and love. They were building a life together, a life that was a testament to their journey, their shared past, and their hopeful future. One summer evening, as the city was bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, Charles turned to Emily, a nervous anticipation in his eyes. "Emily," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "will you marry me?" The question hung in the air, the weight of his words sinking in. Emily looked at Charles, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the moment they had been building towards, the promise of a shared future. "Yes, Charles," Emily whispered, her voice filled with love and anticipation. "Yes, I will." As they embraced, their hearts beating in sync, Emily knew they had made the right choice. Their journey had been a whirlwind of emotions, a dance with the unknown, but they had emerged stronger, their love a testament to their resilience. Their story was far from over, their future filled with endless possibilities. But as they stood there, amidst the city's chaos, their hearts full of love and hope, Emily and Charles knew they were ready to face whatever came their way, together. As the sun set on the bustling city, their shared laughter echoed through their flat, a testament to their love. They had found their someone, their shared past serving as a foundation for their hopeful future. Their love story was a testament to the promise of spring, a promise of new beginnings, of shared dreams, and of enduring love.
We hope you enjoyed this short story. To hear more stories like this one, why not subscribe to the Romance Diaries and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified each time we put out a new story or confession. That way you won't need to miss a thing. Or if you'd like to experience your own true life romance, why not visit one of our sponsors by clicking a link in the description.